Whether you're listening at home, at work, or anywhere, thanks for making Para X part of your day. Your source for everything paranormal, Para X.
And welcome back, everybody, right here to the Paranormal View on the Para X Radio Network. I want to thank everyone for being with us tonight, those listening in the chat room and those listening from around the world. So we got with us tonight Barbara Duncan.
Hello, everyone.
And speaking of around the world, where do we have listeners?
Tonight they're coming in from all over the United States, Canada, the United Kingdom, and the Ukraine.
And the Ukraine. We haven't had that too much, have we?
Not lately, no.
Huh. Well, welcome. We're glad everybody decided they wanted to drop by and listen tonight.
Probably Hunter's listening.
And we got with us Jeffrey Gould.
Hello. I usually do the outro to the commercial, but there you go.
Oh, do you? And we didn't get that done? Oh.
You just sort of did it. I was about to start, and all of a sudden I'm like, I need to start it.
I don't know. I'm not with it tonight for some reason. I think I've been stuck here in this house too long.
Say goodnight, Dick.
Yeah, good night, Dick. And we got with us tonight Tabby Cat Snider Gasch.
How you doing?
Apparently not good. Maybe I need a doctor's appointment or something. Now, I know before we left for break, we was talking about, what was that, Amityville Horror?
Well,
and The Exorcist.
And The Exorcist, okay. And that's what you and Jeff's got going to talk about some. To me, I don't know exactly that much about it because I'm not into those types of hauntings, you might say. So I'll let
Well, you know what they say, possession is 9/10 of the law. Oh, wait.
I might be possessed by something, but I have no idea what it is.
Well, Henry, you're only 9/10.
Oh, then that's why I don't know.
Well, in this case, in the movie, the possession was 9/10 of the movie.
Oh. So, Jeff, you say you had some questions on that?
Well, not so many, as much as the Booth brothers were at a paranormal event that I attended on the Queen Mary years ago, and they brought with they owned the journal that was found in the walls that conveyed the events of the possession and the exorcism of the young boy.
Where was this journal found, Jeff?
I think it was in a house, some walls of a house or something. I could be completely wrong, and that's just what my memory is saying. But
Okay. I'm just curious because the house where the family lived was in an area known as Mount Rainier, Maryland. And Mount Rainier, Maryland was only about 4 miles away from where I grew up. And that area, well, once the film came out and everything, I learned that my mother's next door neighbor actually grew up on the same street where this family lived. And he actually went to school with the young boy that it happened to. And he remembered very vividly that when he didn't show up for school for so long, people were getting concerned. And, everybody was asking around, well, is he sick? Is there something wrong with him? Is he in the hospital or something? And my mother's neighbor said, well, one thing that he remembered very vividly was that there were his own parents, the neighbor's parents, and some other parents in the neighborhood would remember hearing yelling and screaming and carrying on and profanity and everything coming from this person's house on a regular basis. And, of course, at that period of time, the first thing they thought of was, well, somebody's got, some serious issues. And once they found out that it had to do with their young son, of course, the whole neighborhood thought, well, he's got mental issues. There's something wrong with this kid, for yelling and screaming and everything else. And the neighbors just stopped having anything to do with them. I mean, the stigma about mental illness, within someone's family, the neighbors just stopped having anything to do with this family, including my mom's neighbor's family as well. And they told him, and I will say that his name was Charlie, told Charlie, don't have anything to do with this kid anymore. I know you go to school with him, but, this kid's got some serious issues. Just leave him alone. Don't have anything to do with him. There's something wrong with him. And he would say that they would go to school and he would be fine. There would be absolutely nothing wrong with him. But by that time, the word was getting out that there was something wrong with him. And the kids would look at him strange at school and wouldn't sit next to him at the lunchroom. They started moving their chairs away from him in the classroom and everything. And it made him feel even more isolated, of course. And then suddenly the kid was no longer in school. And nobody knew what happened to him. And they thought, well, okay, they finally put him in a nut house. Now, in that area where I used to live, the main insane asylum was called St. Elizabeth's. And even my own parents would say, oh, okay, if you keep acting up, we're going to send you to the nut house. We're going to send you to St. Elizabeth's Hospital, for the insane, But that's what everybody thought at the time, and that's what the neighbor said was, well, everybody assumed, well, because this young boy was constantly acting out and constantly screaming and disrupting the neighborhood, that he probably ended up in the nut house. Well, it wasn't until years later that they found out that the family had gone to St. Louis to visit with the father's relatives, because St. Louis Hospital out there had some of the best neurological equipment to test for, to look into the brain and so forth. And once they did that, and they were staying with relatives, the father's relatives in St. Louis, after all these tests and everything were run, it was pretty well determined, well, there's something else going on here. Now, it started in the house. Actually, it's technically called Cottage City. Not Mount Rainier, but Cottage City. It started in Cottage City, where they had some clergy to come in and talk to the boy. And he was pubescent, and he was in the process of going through puberty. Now, at that period of time, the idea that pubescent children could possess the possibility of poltergeist activity. It was just virtually almost unheard of. That you could move things, you could move the bed, you could throw things, you could have enough energy to even project enough strength to move someone across the room or whatever. It was unheard of. It really was. And so all of this came about, that all of these people, all of these clergy that came into the home in Cottage City, after talking with the young boy, it seemed to only manifest itself mostly in the evenings. He was okay to go to school. He was okay to be with his family. It's just that in the evening, when things quieted down, he got bored, suddenly things ramped up. And the next thing you know, with a religious family that his family were, they just immediately thought, well, we need to consult somebody that's going to help him. And who knows? That may have helped, it may have hindered, who knows? But by the time they took him to St. Louis, they underwent all of these tests at that time to find out whether or not there was something neurological and so forth. And because he kept acting up, they eventually moved him to a local seminary. And they did the majority of the exorcisms at that location. So once that was done, and they figured out, well, okay, we need to do this, we need to do that. The young boy finally responded to it all and came out of it. Then the lives went on from there. That people
if we can back up just a second here. And the family was intensely Catholic.
Yes.
Is it true that the aunt was working with the kid using a Ouija board?
No, that has never, ever been proven. Not even one iota. The only things that the neighborhood would say about the aunt was that she was, at that time, considered, excuse this for those people that were during that period of time, but a beatnik. She was a beatnik.
Okay.
She was one of those people that, slapped their fingers and played bongos and, was more into, just looking at the world in a different filter, that sort of thing. She was more open to the spirit world. She was more open to outside influences and that sort of thing. And so she was considered a little bit of an oddball. And so there's absolutely and positively no proof whatsoever that she introduced the boy to a Ouija board or anything like that.
But she could have introduced him to a different paradigm, so to speak.
Yeah.
So, it's possible that the parents thought that it was wicked in its own right.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, you got to figure that even back in the 50s, when Elvis Presley first started, singing and everything, oh my goodness, the uproar. Oh gosh, people were breaking records and, forbidding their children from even watching him because he was evil, because he was moving his legs and he was sexual and everything.
Well, when Elvis performed on Ed Sullivan, they actually had the camera close up, so it was only from his chest up, so you couldn't see his legs.
Yeah, I mean, there's a filter that goes on, no matter what you do. So during the time that this young boy was growing up, That filter was, you don't go outside the norm. You do not go outside the norm. And, at that time, you were still on the fringe of the big band era, but you were also in the process of transitioning into rock and roll or rockabilly. And, people were, coming into their own about dressing differently and thinking differently and everything. So the whole generation was different. So to demonize his aunt, to say that she was, a gypsy wearing a turban with, bangles off her arms and using a Ouija board and everything, that's absolute crap. There's absolutely no indication whatsoever, only that she was into, more of the beatnik type of scene. So that's crap. But for people to think that everything only happened in St. Louis, that's crap. A lot of the stuff did start in Cottage City, where they used to live. That's when they first brought in clergy to say, okay, my child he's doing stupid stuff. He's using bad words. He's rebellious. He's doing this. He's doing that. There's something wrong with this kid to do this. But hey, the kid's, going through puberty. He's got pimples. He's not well liked at school. He's, kind of shunned by a lot of people. And he's going to act up. So for him to just suddenly be demonized, and I use that word, demonized, to say he's got a demon in him simply because he's a kid that is deciding, I'm just going to start using 4-letter words. I'm going to be nasty. And I'm going to use my energy to say, I'm sick and tired of doing everything that the strict parentage is telling me what to do. And when they get him to St. Louis and they run him through all these tests and they can't find a single thing wrong with him, the first thing the parents do is say, well, if there's nothing scientific wrong with him, then it's got to be something demon. It's got to be religious. It's got to be something wrong with him. And so they put him in this room and they do all this stuff to him. And if there is poltergeist activity, which back then they didn't recognize, then yeah, it's going to look like a demon. It is seriously going to look like a demon. But like on some of the programs that they put on there, that supposedly all of the exorcisms happened at the location in St. Louis. No, none of those exorcisms happened at that house in St. Louis. All of the exorcisms happened at that hospital. Now, a few of them happened in Cottage City, but none of them happened in the house in St. Louis. And shortly after the boy was rid of the demon, the family sold the house in Cottage City. You know what that house is in Cottage City now? As of a few years back, the last time that I visited my home area, it's a child care center.
Wow.
Yeah, that house is a child care center or daycare center. Go figure.
So what was the name of the family? What was the mom's name?
I'm not even sure that's public knowledge.
It is. I'm not going to say it.
No.
Okay.
I would really rather not.
Yeah.
But
There's no
yeah,
point to, really.
I know exactly who it was that lived there. I knew who they sold it to. The woman that bought the house after the family moved out, Um, Everybody in the neighborhood told her what happened there, and she says, okay, I'm moving out. And she left, and she sold it to two other families, and then the last family, like I said, they turned it into a daycare center. And my relatives lived less than a mile away in Mount Rainier, and they said that nobody ever had any problems after that. And the whole neighborhood was saying, "Oh yeah, we salted the ground and we burnt the house down and everything." No, it's still there. So, Jeff, anything different that you've heard?
Well, I was just thinking of being a daycare, you'd have all these toddlers. How would you notice if there was any demonic activity or not?
Oh yeah. Oh God, the terrible twos, the fearsome threes. Oh yeah, yeah. There's got to be a lot of little demons running around in diapers in that place.
Yeah, but yeah, that sounds. Yeah, it's kind of funny because as the show goes, I'll go online and I'll grab links. So I actually found articles about the original events. So I'm like, wait, are they trying not to dox the original owner or the current owners? Because I don't think the article say talk about the current house owners, but they were talking at the boy and all that.
Yeah. Well, having grown up in that area, and my mother's next door neighbor, yeah, I knew exactly where the house was. And
I didn't know there was a Mount Rainier in what was it, Maryland? You said?
Yes, Mount Rainier.
Yeah.
And Cottage City. Yeah.
When I hear Rainier, I'm like, well, I remember seeing that when my family stayed with my aunts and cousins in Seattle.
Yeah, well, as a matter of fact, I haven't had an uncle that was the chief of police in Mount Rainier for many years. So, yep, that was definitely a place in Maryland.
Well, there's been 2 or 3, I guess, famous haunted places that they've done stories on, where kids had things wrong with them, and they all said it was poltergeist or demon or whatever.
Because Hollywood likes to do that.
Yep.
Oh, yeah.
They'll
Well,
take-
I mean, you'd be surprised at how many people that I've spoken to that are absolutely and totally convinced that the location in Georgetown, which is a suburb of Washington D.C., where the original Exorcist film was made, they insist that that house is the real house, and that staircase that you see in the film was a part of the actual happening. I'm like, I don't think so. That's just a movie set. Excuse me. If in all seriousness, the staircase that you see in the film isn't anywhere near the house that is shown in the film. The house that is shown in the film is like 3 or 4 blocks away. The staircase is in a whole different location. So how could that even be close?
The house that's next to the stairs, having been there, I spent the week of the bicentennial in D.C. and all, and so we went to Georgetown, and we went up and down the stairs because The Exorcist was still relatively new at that time, and we like, oh, we got to go up and down the stairs. So yeah, the house that's abuts the stairs looks like The Exorcist house.
Yeah, but it
very
isn't.
Similar.
Yeah,
but
it isn't though.
Did you ever see the terrible, so bad it's painful and not funny sequel to The Exorcist, Exorcist to the Heretic?
Oh my gosh! Oh, I've seen all 3 of them. Oh,
One of the agonizing movies through which to sit. I saw the original at a press screening before they cut out the ending. So now, if you watch the movie, she's doing the little swingy thing to make the locusts all stop, and the movie
Uh-huh.
ends. That's where it ends. Well, in the
Yeah.
original version, the original cut, they she and oh, uh, Elizabeth Taylor's husband, Richard Burton, um, decide that they're going to team up and fight evil wherever they find it. Thing. I'm like, what is this? A pilot
Right.
for a bad TV series? And
I
they
know.
walk up to they walk into the sunset. I'm like, you know, you're going to step off a wall that's like 500 feet, right? Because that's where you're walking. You're walking away parallel to the stairs. I'm like, well, that's going to be a really fast ending there. But oh yeah, that movie was so painful. And when I did my movie review of it, I pointed out that when everything was falling apart and they have the car accident, that Reagan's sister is walking around with this big like barbed wire sticking out of her thing, calling
Yeah.
for help the way someone would call a puppy to come indoors. That's how I remember
Yeah.
wording that. Oh man.
Yeah.
And
I think probably one of the most interesting films that I really enjoyed watching was The Omen.
the
And
original.
the
Yeah.
original Omen, and then the last one was Sam Neill. Um, there was two Omens, the Omen 1, Omen 2, and then the last one.
Yeah, but
Um,
the third one's kind of lame, I thought.
yeah,
Because it implied 3 stars just coming together like, cars in an intersection.
yeah. But I think the reason that I like the last one with Sam Neill is because it's kind of prophetic to the way things are today with, big businesses
Oh,
wanting
yeah.
to control everything, to take over small businesses, small farms, small industries, and so forth. And, just out and out, destroying nature, destroying our resources and everything with, chemicals and pesticides and everything in order to control things. There are some films that are very, very prophetic, and I think it was called The Final Conflict with Sam Neill that
Yeah.
portrayed, the coming of the, uh,
Damien. So, yeah.
yeah, Damien. That was very prophetic. It's scary. So, I mean, if people go back and watch that, yeah,
I would have to rewatch that then because the thing that really disappointed me was Owen 1 and 2 were like the original Saw movies in that who's going to die how?
mm,
Because anybody that was getting in the way of Damien's progressing met an unpleasant end, or as Stephen King would
yeah,
call it, bad death.
yeah.
And 3, I don't remember anyone really dying in it.
No, no, but it was just still scary because of, well, actually, the one guy died in like a reactor thing or a chemical thing in one of the plants because he was going to blow the whistle.
Okay.
But yeah, a lot of films, whether it's the Amityville Horror or The Exorcist or The Omen, there's an awful lot of elements in there that people can look at and pick and choose what they want to believe out of. And the Amityville has certain things that are definite truths. There's no doubt about it. The DeFeo murders, uh, Amityville. I mean, excuse me, The Exorcist. The What happened with the young boy and his ultimate exorcism. The Omen, while it is fictitious, it is freaking scary.
Oh yeah.
It is absolutely scary.
The same year that it came out, in 1976. So I actually saw it in Virginia with the circle of friends I was staying with for the bicentennial. So, and that music is so fantastic.
Yeah.
What's interesting is there's a little known horror film from England called City of the Dead, which also is known in America as Horror Hotel, with Christopher Lee. It's in black
Oh
and white,
yeah.
but its opening music is almost from the Omen, and I always got a kick out of the fact, like, it's really close to the Omen, and I know and it came first, so it makes me wonder. But yeah, that's one of my favorite films, mostly because of the music was so stylized. It was so the Gregorian chant of the evil, the villains in that were. Ugh.
I'm going to have to go back and watch that. I think Christopher Lee to me was probably the one of the best and least accredited actors. I mean, he was probably in more horror films than anything else, but he was in so many wonderful films.
Oh yeah.
Of course, his biggest film was being Dracula in the Hammer series
Oh yeah. Yeah.
and
Yeah.
everything.
That's.
And
Did you ever?
to me,
Have you
as far as I was concerned, if Christopher Lee wanted to be Dracula, if he wanted to bite my neck, oh yeah, he was cool.
Well, what was you saw Sleepy Hollow, right?
Hmm.
Tim Burton's Sleepy Hollow.
Yes.
Well, Christopher Lee plays the judge at the beginning, and the chair has what seems to be wings. And the director's commentary, Tim Burton points out, he says it was kind of unintentional that the wings are there. He says, but it helped because Christopher Lee is always going to be Dracula.
Yeah, he was. That's very iconic. So many various different actors, they have, different iconic roles. Yes, Christopher Lee was definitely Dracula, no doubt about it.
Also, Saruman. So.
Yeah, well, I mean, a lot of people didn't even recognize him, and the generation, they wouldn't have known who ChristopherLee was. But
He's pretty well known. Well, out here, obviously, because we like movies. But
yeah,
yeah, I mean, we're used to him. I mean, yeah, he's just awesome, and he can sing. He's a good singer.
really.
Well, you're aware that The Wicker Man is technically a musical, right?
Yeah.
The original Wicker Man.
Yeah.
I kind of ignored that part of it.
In the film, I mean, the film is just great. But yeah.
Yeah, well, I mean, there's so many absolutely wonderful films out there and everything. And I think today's generation, they're kind of jaded when it comes to the horror films. Most people just want to see what I refer to as a hack and slash. They're the ones that have all the blood and the gore and getting their heads chopped off and everything. But they don't realize that if you go back and look at some of the older films, like the black and white films that rely on the visual effects and even some of the sound effects and everything, they can be absolutely and totally terrifying. And my favorite of all is called The Haunting.
The original The Haunting, yes, not the
Yes,
horrible.
the original black and white Haunting. And one of my favorite scenes in that film is when Eleanor is in the room and she's hearing talking and everything else, and she thinks that her roommate is squeezing her hand on the other side of the bed, and she keeps calling out, you're hurting me, you're squeezing my hand. And then she calls out, the light comes on, her roommate is on the opposite side of the room in another area, and she jumps up and Eleanor says, but who was holding my hand?
Well, that Haunting was based on the original Legend of Hill House.
Yes.
I worked on a stage production of that back east, and we had incredible special effects. They had the door with a spandex where the wood panels would be, so that You were able to push faces and hands
In
into
and
it.
out, and in and out.
And what was funny was
Oh,
I wasn't on stage, but I designed the sound, and I asked the director. I said, "Would you be open? I know it's unorthodox for a community theater stage play, but would you be open to a music score and actually have music?" And he says, "Well, I don't know if that would work. That might detract." I'm like, "I tell you what, let me play with you what I have, and let you see what you think." And he thought, "Wow, that all works fantastic." And we had audiences screaming in terror. And the music
ooh.
I had chosen, I had the 2 vinyl albums from the soundtrack of the TV soap opera Dark Shadows.
Oh my gosh, I'm gonna have to watch that. I love that. That's, I mean, I watched it, faithfully. Oh my
Yeah.
goodness.
Well,
Oh
the thing
wow,
was,
that would be cool.
exactly. Well, with Dark Shadows, they had all the same music cues, so we were all used to them. We knew where the hypnotic music was, where the "oh my God, something is coming" music, or "oh my goodness, we're going to commercial," kind of the dun 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 kind of music. And I just put them all in the right place because I knew the soundtrack so well, um, Robert Corben's music so well. It was almost the way the old Star Trek had the exact same music cues. You'd always hear the, "oh, here comes the fight music." Dun, 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 dun.
Yeah. Wow. Yeah, I would absolutely love to hear that because, as it is, the original movie, just even the silence sometimes is what gets you. And nowadays, everybody looks to special effects and CGI and, certain sound effects and everything. But everybody is looking for something constantly visual and everything. And I think a lot of the older black and white movies really came across with your imagination. That's what you really should be using is your imagination. And when they're sitting in the drawing room and they're hearing something coming along and knocking on the walls, and you can actually hear it going down the hallways, knocking on the walls, and they're all holding on to each other, and you can hear it along the ceiling and everything. You can see their terror in their faces, and you don't have to have that dramatic music and everything. All you have to hear is the knocking sound and seeing the look on these people's faces and everything. And I think it's interesting because you see on TV nowadays on these shows where these groups go into a location and they are standing there and they hear footsteps somewhere. They hear footsteps upstairs or down the hall. And the camera pans over to all these people and they're looking at each other like, did I hear that? Did you hear that? Oh no, did you hear that? Oh no, I heard that. And then suddenly they decide to get up and go and investigate. But of course, there's like 6 people behind them going to investigate these sounds. So by the time they get there, it's stopped. And so a lot of us that are going into these locations and we're sitting there in a location and we're hearing footsteps where we know nobody is. We don't just look at each other and go, did you hear that? No, did you hear that? No, did you hear that? No, I didn't hear that. We get up and we go look. And we start talking and we ask, who are you? Who's there? And we might be scared out of our skulls to do this. Some people are just like, oh man, I'm not going to go near that. I'm hearing footsteps. I'm not going to go near those footsteps. I don't want to go near that noise. But yet most of us will go toward it and ask, who's there? Who's walking? And everything. That's what we do.
No,
Oh, Henry, I know that you won't do that,
I'm
but
looking for the
most
closest
of us
door.
do. Yeah.
Well,
I mean,
I've mentioned before that I've been I've sometimes gone with groups to places, and we'll finish one room and go to another, and the room that's now empty, something will bang or make a noise, and everyone freezes, and I start walking to the room, and they're like, "Where are you going?" I'm like, "I'm
yeah,
gonna find out what made the sound. What do you think we're doing here?"
exactly,
Yeah. Yeah.
exactly, exactly. I mean, you don't just, sit there and say, okay, what happened? Well, maybe that's it. And you wait for the cameraman, to walk up behind you and follow you.
Well,
I,
yeah,
it,
but the cameraman is usually pointing the camera at you
it,
instead of
well,
At
yeah,
looking.
themselves. Yeah.
The
yeah,
sound
or
is over
another
here in this
direction.
room,
Yeah,
but the camera's
exactly.
pointing at you.
Yeah. I
That's
mean,
just stupid.
I love to watch a lot of these programs, mostly for the locations more than anything else. I mean, some of the locations are absolutely fascinating, but it just really tickles me that, they stand there and they look at each other like, did you hear it? No, did you hear it? No, no, I didn't hear it. No, I didn't hear it. And then they send one single person to go check it out. No, that's fine, but yeah, you don't hear the dramatic music,
But but
to
you might hear that
accompany all the.
scream.
Yeah, yeah, you might hear the scream or something, but you don't hear the dramatic music and everything. And then suddenly the camera pans over to somebody putting their hands up to their face, going, "Oh my God,
Oh yeah,
I'm
yeah.
hearing something."
You got to make it
You
like
know,
they're being scared and stuff. I mean,
I'm sorry.
And one of
I guess I'm weird
but it,
because I've only been actually afraid one time. Uh, and that was and it I don't know if it was absolutely and totally paranormal, but I've only absolutely and totally been so afraid of something that um, it still gives me chills. I was in Scotland in 2005, and I was there with a friend, and we were in a bed and breakfast outside of Edinburgh the night before we were supposed to leave. And we were in a location that was on a farm area. I mean, I'm talking about way off the beaten path. Um, and we were playing cards, just trying to relax that night. And, we had two separate rooms, but we had gathered in one room to play cards. And I kept hearing what I thought was two cats getting ready to fight. And being a cat lover, I know exactly what cats sound like when they're what I refer to as posturing. Like, hey, get up in my face, I'm going to beat your butt, and that sort of thing. And that awful growl that cats give off when they're getting ready to fight. But it sounded strange. It sounded very low. It sounded very guttural and a little strange. But I can't stand that sound. And having cats, my first reaction is to break it up, knock that crap off type of thing. So my friend and I could hear it in the field on the other side of the building. And during the day, there were a whole bunch of cows that had been there, but they had since moved off and gone to where they normally would, for the night. So there was no cows in that field at all. And I kept hearing this sound, and no, I can't stand this anymore. So I get up and I go downstairs and I walk outside, and the security light comes on in the parking lot. And so it's brightly lit, and I walk over to the edge of where the parking lot is, and I'm hearing this awful, loud, guttural, row, row, row type sound, and something I'd never heard before. And suddenly, it just got to me to where all the hair was standing up. all my hair was just standing up. And I got that fight or flight type of effect. And I'd never had that before. And I look over to this one cinder block wall, and I saw this black mass that was like 6 inches above the cinder block wall move past, and then it went over toward the fence to where the road was, and then it just disappeared. And I heard this growl again, and I headed toward the door to the B&B, and I think I made it about 30 feet in 3 steps. And I hit the door, came back into the B&B, went up to my room, looked out the window, and didn't see anything. But that cinder block wall was like 3 feet high, and whatever this thing was like 6 inches above it. And it just took off. The next morning, my friend and I came out getting ready to leave. There was another couple there with some kids, and they looked at me and said, "Did you hear something really strange last night?" And my friend and I just looked at each other and said, "Yeah, we did." I have no clue what the heck it was, but after that I looked it up and found out that there is a legend of a big black cat in Scotland.
Huh. Wow.
I don't know if it was real or not, but I'll tell you, I have never been that scared in my life.
Wow.
Well, there are sightings of what they call big cats in England and Scotland, out in the middle of nowhere, and they look like these large black jaguars.
Yeah.
Wow.
And I'm pretty sure that's what and this didn't sound like a normal cat. It really didn't. And it moved so darn fast and headed toward that fence. But I'll tell you, when they said, did you move? And I said, yeah, with bloody long ones. I hit that door in two seconds flat.
Well, did you ask?
Never been that scared in my life.
Did you ask the people of the bed and breakfast if they knew what it was?
Yeah, I actually asked her before we got ready to leave, and she just looked at me and she said, "Oh, I was sound asleep. I didn't hear anything."
Yeah, I said, yeah, but do you know what the legend is?
Yeah, well, that was kind of a denial, and I just let it go.
Well, our time is quickly just scooting right on by.
Oh, man.
And when you guys were talking about the movies, I put in there the trilogy of terror. You remember that little
Oh, no.
four and short
Damn it,
thing
Henry.
with
Now
the
you're gonna make
sword
me
that
have
would
nightmares.
stand the floor when the chain fell off of it?
Oh, man, you're going to make me have nightmares tonight. Oh, why did you
It was a
do
cute
that?
little beast.
Oh. Yeah.
Yep, that's
oh,
it.
Thanks a lot, Henry.
Ironically, circling back, you're aware Trilogy of Terror was done by Dan Curtis, who did the original Dark Shadows.
Next time we meet up, Henry, I owe you one for that one.
Yeah, that one there was one of the scary ones that I did watch. So I think the girl was Karen Black that played that part.
Yeah,
Yeah.
it was.
Hey, I have a filmmaker friend who worked on this no-budget film that they managed to get her to come in to co-star in, and all of her handlers told them, don't mention Trilogy of Terror. Don't. But it was set in caveman times, ironically, and she just happened at one point squat and took like the femur bone, she started stabbing the floor, and he in the audio commentary like, I didn't direct her, but she did a Trilogy of Terror bit.
No.
Yeah, that was pretty good.
I hate you, Henry.
About time I get somebody back.
Well, I mean, for heaven's sakes, like nobody could have just got out the broom and swept it and used it like a baseball bat. I mean, really.
Well, it didn't work with being microwaved. So.
Yeah, sure.
Yeah, get it in there and turn the microwave on, wait for it to splat.
Yeah,
Yeah.
and went into somebody else.
That's wood, fireplace, whatever.
Yeah.
And the thing is, nobody ever remembers the other two stories from that.
No, they don't.
Wasn't there one about being entities in a well that was part of a fireplace?
It's possible.
Or was that a
like
different movie?
I don't know.
Any Night Gallery episode. So.
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't remember
Nope.
what the other two stories were.
Nope, me neither.
Yeah. Mainly because that one was so good.
Yeah.
Yeah, I ain't sleeping tonight.
Nope, me neither. I'm going to be looking under the bed and in the closet.
Wow. I got two cats.
2020's Elf on a Shelf. Yeah.
Yeah. I got two cats, and that won't do me a bit of good because they both them run the other way. I got Patsy though; she'll take care of it for me.
You know, you can actually get there. They actually have the full-size action figure of a Zuni War on Amazon. It's only $425.
Really?
Oh, is that all? No, thank you. No.
Yeah, I ain't paying
Not me,
Knife
not the
included?
kid. Nope.
No. All right. With that, since our time is almost run out, you guys got any last things before we start wrapping?
Just stay safe, everybody.
Well, that's not
Yeah.
too easy, but it's not too hard to do. Make sure you wear masks. Yeah. And I'll wear a mask every time I go out somewhere, which isn't real.
Now it's almost like your admission ticket nowadays for a lot of places.
Yep.
So, but I hope this does hurry up into where we can get shots and stuff and start kind of like killing this thing out. So, or making
Yeah,
it safe
because
for people.
we definitely need to meet up. I mean, when it comes to the paranormal community, we are a very close-knit family, and we are, a very wonderful family. And not being able to get together, it's difficult, and we miss everybody very, very much.
All right. Why don't you tell everybody about your show, what time it comes on, and so we
Okay.
because we're going to be jumping off.
My show and Tammy is Psychic Little T. It's called Journey into the Light Chapter 3, and we are on every Thursday night from 7 to 8 Eastern Time. Thank you.
All right. With that, I want to thank for being on. Stay on until after we're off. And Barbara, you got anything?
Yeah.
All right.
Wear a mask, wash your hands, and back off.
There you go. All right. This is Henry Foister.
Well,
And who?
Barbara Duncan.
Oh, I didn't hear Jeff.
oh, did you?
No, I didn't hear you.
I heard it echo back. So.
Oh, okay. All right. Well, until next week. And next week we do have Craig Rupp's going to be with us. So join us in.
Cool.
So till then, we'll see you next week at the same time. So good night, everybody. You've been listening to the Paranormal View on the ParaX Radio Network. Join us again next week at the same time for more of the Paranormal